Are you thinking of moving to Kirkland, Washington, but you just don't know enough about it? Well, this video, I am going to talk about the pros and the cons of living in Kirkland, Washington. Hey everybody, my name is Tova Williamson. I'm a local real estate agent in the Seattle metro area. And on this channel, I shoot tons of videos of what it's like to live in the Seattle metro area. So if those are videos you want more of, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Click the link and the little bell so you'll be notified every time a new video comes on. We get reach outs all the time from people moving here. We absolutely love hearing from you, but we can't help unless you call. So give us a call, email, text. We got your back when you're moving to Seattle. So today on this video, I am going to talk about Kirkland, Washington. It is a city on the east side of Seattle. We've got it right here, Kirkland. Here's Seattle, here's Bellevue. It sits just kind of northeast of Seattle and Bellevue. So it's a great little town. You can see right here, it's right on Lake Washington. Their downtown is right on Lake Washington. It's one of the only, or is the only city on the east side that has a downtown on the water, which is also my backdrop. So it's a really charming little downtown. So to dive right in, pros and cons of Kirkland, Washington. So number one pro we have is the schools. The schools get an A+ on niche.com. The whole east side really gets really good school ratings. Kirkland is no exception. They get great school ratings. People love the area. That brings a lot of people to the area, is these highly rated schools. So if you're looking for good schools, Kirkland, really the whole east side, but Kirkland is a really great place for schools. Number two pro is the downtown area. It has a really vibrant downtown area right on the water, like you can see here. They've got farmers markets here. There's concerts sometimes. It's just a really happening place. It's super fun to just go walk around. There's a ton of restaurants, different shops, shopping, really cool things to do. So it is a smaller town, but it does also have like a pretty decent activities and stuff to do too. So you won't be necessarily bored in Kirkland like maybe some other small towns. Pro number three is it has a pretty strong economy. Some of the other east side cities also do, like Bellevue, Redmond, but Kirkland also has a pretty decent amount of tech companies, medical facilities for jobs. So it's very probable that you can get a job in Kirkland and work in Kirkland and live in Kirkland and not have to drive back and forth into Seattle or Bellevue. So that is a definite pro, because we'll talk about another con, but traffic is not great. So the next and final pro that I'm going to talk about in Kirkland is the crime. The crime rating is pretty good. They're rated a B- on niche.com. So it's not too bad. The biggest is property crime. Violent crime is not really too prevalent in Kirkland. So that's something that brings a lot of people, is just the safety, especially compared to Seattle or maybe even Bellevue, some of the other larger cities in the area. It definitely gets a much safer grade compared to some of these other areas. So that's pro number four, is a low crime rate. So now digging into the cons, we're going to talk about. Number one con is the cost of living. Just kind of like the whole east side in general, cost of living in Kirkland is not cheap, especially with all of the pros that I listed, the good schools, low crime, really fun downtown, and a pretty strong economy. It brings a lot of people to the area, so it just increases prices. There's not a lot of houses for sale in the area. And so because of that, when there's high demand, low supply, prices go up. So median sales price in Kirkland for a single family home, you're looking at about 1.4. Condos, you're looking at about $649. So definitely not the cheapest place to be like starting out necessarily, or finding like cheap real estate, because things are still pretty expensive in Kirkland. But I will say Kirkland has a pretty decent mix of housing. They've got, with all of the coastline along Lake Washington, you've got some really amazing, beautiful view homes that you can get. Definitely going to be above that 1.4 million median price point, but there's some really great view homes. There's a lot of older homes built in like the 70s, 80s, 90s, even some mid-century that people have fixed up. So you have that kind of like suburban feel. And then in the downtown area and kind of adjacent to that, there's a lot more new construction coming on, townhouses, condos, kind of that more walkable lifestyle. So you have a pretty good mix in Kirkland of housing, but it is just fairly expensive, especially even compared to Seattle. It's more expensive than Seattle. So something to keep in mind, cost of living, it's not a cheap place to live. Number 2 con that I'm going to talk about is traffic. So I'm going to pull up the map again here, but if you're lucky enough to work in Kirkland and live in Kirkland, you don't have to deal with traffic. Yay for you. But if you have to drive into Seattle or even to Bellevue, it can be kind of rough. Seattle's much worse than Bellevue, but just where Kirkland is located. And it depends on where you are, but Kirkland kind of goes down here and then it goes up around here and then over to Kings Gate. And a little over to 405. So 405 is kind of a notoriously terrible freeway. It doesn't have a lot of lanes. They have some carpool lanes that you can go in, but they're tolled. So you have to have a special little sticker on your car and you pay a toll to ride in those carpool lanes. Sometimes it's only like $1, and honestly, it's worth it when the traffic is really bad to just hop in that carpool lane. So that's something to keep in mind. And then if you are having to commute into Seattle, you're gonna take this 520 bridge most likely. You can take I-92, I guess it just depends on where in Seattle you're working, but 520 is tolled too, so keep that in mind. If you're coming from Kirkland into Seattle and you wanna take 520, you get that little good to go pass and you pay the toll. It really depends on the time of day, how much they charge, anywhere from like $2 to $6. It depends, but if you have that good to go pass, you get a discount on your fare. So definitely worth getting if you're going to be commuting regularly. And then, like I said, even Bellevue, I mean, 405 is just not the best freeway. And so if you don't want to go on the freeway, then you're going to be on surface streets where I feel like everybody else is. So then you're just dealing with worse traffic there. So traffic isn't great in Kirkland just because of kind of where it's located too. And then there's not a ton of public transportation either. I mean, there are some buses, but it's not super extensive. It's just not, you're going to be very car centered in Kirkland. So just keep that in mind when you're moving and dealing with you're gonna have to deal with traffic. One other thing to mention is, as far as east side cities, it is a little further from the airport. The airport's in Seattle is south, like it's pretty far down. Right around here, there's SeaTac Airport. So just where Kirkland is, it's not too bad, but compared to like Bellevue or even Issaquah, some other cities, it's a little bit further to get to the airport. So just a little bit longer of a jaunt too, as kind of a con for the traffic. And so now the third and final con that we're going to talk about is the weather. This picture is not representative of like all the weather. This is like a beautiful day in Kirkland, but we live in the Pacific Northwest. It's gray, it's cloudy, it's rainy. I say it on every con video that I do, but yeah, the weather is just rough here sometimes, especially if people are used to coming from sunny areas. Just get used to it. There's gonna be a lot of gray days, good amount of rain. The rain is usually a drizzle. It's not usually like a torrential downpour, but it's a part of living here. But when it's sunny out, it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, you can see this picture, just like how beautiful that is. So it's totally worth, the rain is worth it to have these beautiful days. So just something to keep in mind. Again, if you're really sensitive to weather, it might be kind of rough for you in this area because we get a lot of rain and a lot of gray days, but usually like June, July, August are beautiful. September, sometimes we get like still good weather and then it's into gray days. So just be prepared for that. So that is the third and final con of Kirkland. So those are the pros and cons. I think overall it's a great place to live. It's very desirable. Tons of people want to live here. So if you want to move to Kirkland or anywhere else in the Seattle metro area, give us a call, email, text. We got your back when you're moving to Seattle.